Today we're going to have one of the most decorated players in Trinidad and Tobago football on the international scene. And I also want to apologize for the lighting. You would see the lighting a little darker in the recording because I had to move on a moment's notice to get this gentleman. It's a easy sacrifice to make to be able to get one of the most accomplished footballers in Trinidad and Tobago history. Without further ado, I'd ask you to introduce yourself and give us a little of your background. I know it's extensive, but we'll try our best to make it interesting.
Thank you for getting me on your show. I appreciate it. I'm Steve David, born and grew up in Trinidad and the U.S. Obviously, after I turned pro, I lived in the U.S. for 47 years. Everybody should know. And if they don't, I played for police in Trinidad before I turned pro. I played for police from 1970 to 1973. I turned pro in 1974, went to Miami Toros. I played there until 1977 when I went to the Los Angeles Aztecs with the great George Best and Charlie Cook and all these guys. And then after I left there, I went to San Diego Sockers. And after that, I went to the team in Anaheim called what was it called? They came from St. Louis. And so the California California Surf. And after that, I finished in San Jose Earthquakes.
I think the young people in the sport will want to hear, based on all those teams you play for, how did you keep your spirits up? You know, was it ever frustrating moving from one team to the next? What's the key to keeping your spirits up and doing the business at hand?
The key is that, nothing is always smooth. There's ups and downs, there's bumps. And it's just like you play football and the game doesn't go the way you want. You have to make some adjustments and get over that hurdle. And that's what I had to do. I can't say everything was great. They had good and bad. Everywhere I've been, they had good times and bad times. But again, when we run into problems, we just, work them out, solve them, and then keep going. So, with Miami, it was pretty easy because I had Warren Archibald and Salvador Figaro there as a rookie. So it was easy for me. Then those guys were mentoring me, and giving me all the information that I need to become a good professional. And then when they left, it was really difficult because for lots of reasons, we can't even get into that. Nothing major that I couldn't work out, and then I got transferred to Los Angeles Aztecs, which was great team in the sense that I met some good English players like George Best, Charlie Cook, Ron Davies, Terry Mancini, guys who played for the national team in England. And that made it a better experience for me. But like everything else, we got to the final, semifinal. We lose to Seattle in the semifinal, who played the Cosmos in the championship game. Of course, I figured I was injured like 2 games before that. So I felt like if I was there, we would have got to the championship because I was the leading scorer in the league that year. And with Giorgio Chinaglia was second. And also, my team depended on me. I scored most of the goals for them. So that was really hard. But we went through it, and we lost that semifinal, and then the final Cosmos won against Seattle, who beat us in the semifinal.
What
So
type of
maybe
injury, what type of injury was that? What type of injury you got there?
well, I got hit by the goalkeeper Michael Hewitt in the in on my knee, and I got like a ligament tear. It wasn't quite tear; it was stretched. So I had to put a cast on, and it, for couple of months until that healed. And so I didn't have to have surgery, and went from there.
Okay, so it wasn't a nagging injury in your career. It didn't come back. You rehab properly. Take your time and rehab, correct?
Took my time in rehab. It was the end of this season anyway. I was back the next season.
Well, Steve,
I got,
what is kind of amazing to me, as we spoke earlier today, and how I kind of look at you as somebody who it seemed like once you got into your game before you left home, you were destroying a lot of teams. Apparently, when I speak to Gali and even I spoke to my brother earlier on, they have your game as being deceptive. Your speed as being deceptive, and that you actually was even taking on people in the track fraternity. So was the track or the speed you have, was it something you nurtured or is it a natural?
well, I was into track and field from a kid. I used to run, and so I did that and play football. And my people didn't feel my speed because I never I use my speed as a tool in the game. So that means if you were a defender and you and I going for a ball, I would never go top speed. I would go as much as I need to go to stay ahead of you. Now, when we get closer to the ball, then I would push up, speed up, and go away. And especially when they come in across you to tackle, you let them feel like they have it and they don't, because then you speed up and you just knock, you tip it and you go. So that was the deception. The deceptive speed was because of how I pattern to exploit defenders. So it wasn't like, and also my running style. My running style was very long stride, and you don't feel the speed, but unless you have to come up against them. So I know that, and I use that to my advantage. So, but of course, speed, and now I know it how important speed is in the game, because now when I try to go by playing old man football as usual, and I go try to go by somebody, takes me a whole month to get by them. Now I understand, because when you're young, you just push and you go. You don't have to exert too much energy. Somebody comes, you push and you go, because they can keep up with it. So the only answer for speed I know is more speed. So that was part of my game that I developed, that I didn't really wasn't conscious of it until now that I retired. Well, after I retired, and you start to slow down, then you realize how important that was. But I could also dribble. I mean, it depends on what the team needs. I provide it. So if the team need me to create and dribble, I did that. And if not, like when I turned pro, I didn't need to do that because the coach says, that's not what we have you here for. You have here to score goals. Don't dribble. Those guys in the midfield, they don't do all of that. You just want to touch them in the goal, which I did. So you just have to adjust the situation and whatever they require you to do as a professional.
Well, I hope the young players would listen to that latter part of your explanation, because that comes with the professionalism and it seemed like your expertise. So let me just go through my experiences with you and the little mystery. In coming up in the game and getting called on the national, I kind of saw you. I was kind of looking up to guys. Obviously, you're new to the scene as a young person. And you a guy, what we call giving people a lot of talk. And I just find that very, very brave on your part, seeing that your back are turned to these defenders most of the time. Now, granted, the practice was in South Trinidad, and you know a lot of the marquee players were from South. But I was in awe of you, and as I mentioned to you, what got into your head, as we say, for you to be giving defenders talk or chat? You know, didn't you think that it would be a little tougher, make things tougher, or do you think it was going to be easier based on playing the head games?
Well, it's also a physical game and it's a mental game as well. So if you can get in people's head, makes the game easy for you. So when you intimidate people by how you talk, or you let them know they can't handle you, or whatever the case may be, as long as you can back up your talk, and then they come more vicious. That's when you can accelerate and use your speed to leave them out. And so you take advantage of whatever tool you can use to get an advantage. That's what you do. So, like you said, I mean, down in Point Fortin, growing up, it's a normal thing to antagonize people or to say things to make them think about it, to make them to disrupt the game or whatever the case may be, and you use it to your advantage. So when I come up, like when I went to Port Spain, when you knew me, okay, I mean, I was new to the area, and so they probably don't know you personally, so you use that to your advantage, and tell them what you have to tell them, and let them know that you're not scared, that you're there to play, and bring it.
In Port of Spain, I wouldn't say, there's a saying I had the pleasure. I don't think I had the pleasure of meeting you because you hurt my team, which was Mobile United, a couple of times. And even when I went away, um, I understand you scored in the final in the best village. Now, my first meeting with you was the police game. I don't know if you recall that. Ken Morin scored and you scored on St. Mary's ground. And I didn't take note of you then, but I just want to know your psyche in getting a little briefer from the Hackett side of the South regime. Understand that you wasn't making, when Archie and Dilly and these guys were, and I found out you're a younger player. What was your mindset when Archie and Dilly and these guys were getting the notoriety? What was your mindset? What was the driving force for you on your game?
When I went to school, St. Ben's College, remember I was a little bit behind them. So you wait your turn. I used to be captain of the junior team. I played for the senior grade I didn't start with the senior grade until one guy was injured and I got to play, and then they realized this guy can play up in that division. So they kept me on the team. I stayed on the squad. And the championship team, which with Archie and Billy and I never got a chance. Sometimes they put me on the bench as a reserve, but never played. And I was really small. I was like 99 pounds, something like that. When we went to Suriname, I think that's what I weighed. So it was very small. But that didn't faze me because I looked up to Archie and Dilly and they as the senior players. And that worked. But as I get my turn, as the gates started to open for me in the different levels, I took it. Just like when I was playing for junior team as a captain, and then a guy was injured in the senior grade team, and they opened that gate for me, and they never took me off of that team after that. And the same when the gate was open to the championship team, they never took me off from that because that's when actually they left. So, and my whole career it went on like that. As the gates open, I get to run, and I never let. Once I get the opportunity, I stay. I don't let somebody get my shirt to play in. Once I get it, I keep it.
Brief clip on the final before we go into the North American side, because there's a corporate side of the American side where you were successful also, and I want that to show the young people that all the eggs can really go in one basket. So the point game, I wasn't there. I think I sent you the video where we got together and move on to try and decipher. And of course, Steve, David name is calling all the time as burning us again. You know, it's almost a recording. So do you call that game, and were you up for that game too? It's a final and it's in Point.
Yeah, well, as long as I'm representing Point Fortin, I'm always up for that. Nobody beat us. So, and because this is where I was born and bred, and so and we always take that seriously, and when we represent in Point. So, in the Village Olympics, I don't remember us ever. I remember us losing one time in the final, but I don't remember us ever not getting to the final. And we had real gifted players here. I mean, when we come out to play, everybody can play. You know, you don't have to carry nobody. Everybody carries themselves. So, I mean, it showed from the Haiti team where we had 8 or 9 of us from Point Fortin who was in that squad that went to Haiti in 1973, because, you know, it was just when you come out to play, you bring your game. Otherwise, you have to go off the field. You get chastised by the other players, and if you can't bring it, then you gotta go to the sideline. So that's how we play.
Well, and obviously, I would take by that answer is that Mover was a worthy opponent with Lance Dillon and these guys. Did you respect the opposition, or you tell yourself it's Point and who's this Mover thing and this should be piece of cake?
Well, it was another opposition that we need to get by. I mean, I didn't have like I took it easy. I didn't. I play exactly how I'm supposed to. And Mover, like you said, was a formidable opponent that gave us all the trouble they could, and it's just that we won. And so we don't downplay anybody, but so we can go and boast later on. But you know, it is what it is. We do what we have to do, and then we go back to Point. And by the way, you talk about Mova. My mom is from Mova. My dad met my mom and bring her to Point Fortin. I used to go as a kid to Mova every holiday and spend the entire summer, August holiday or whatever, August holiday, and then come to Point. Right?
Hold on, you're breaking up. Stop.
The valley.
Slow down. You break up. So we gotta go back there.
I used to, as a kid, with the the valley road down in the valley and spend my entire vacation. That is July and August vacation. So I'm quite aware of crossing the Lady Young Road and all that kind of stuff and running around in the valley and doing all my stuff. So when I come up against Mova, that was very comfortable for me because I mean I knew a lot of people in Mova in the valley, but not throughout Mova. I didn't know the guys in the team, maybe 1 or 2 guys, but I felt very comfortable playing against them.
So Steve, we can file a protest now then.
Yeah.
If you file a protest, they use one of our players.
And actually, too, the Forest Spring crowd, I got to tell you, they accept me as theirs, and they supported me from day one. Maybe they like my football style, and I really appreciate that a lot. even though, Point people is like seems to think, well, he's from Point, but I got my break in Port of Spain when I went and started to play police. I got in the POSFL team, and then I got on the North team, and then I got on the Trinidad team, all in a matter of a year or a year and a half. So, I mean, that's where my break started. So I am grateful to Port of Spain for where I am.
Don't forget Movo.
Mover as well. I still go back to the valley. I went back to when I'm in Trinidad. I go on a drive up in the valley and make sure I remember all that went on. They had a well. I look for the well that we used to tote water from and all of that. And look for all the mango trees that I used to go climb up there and all that. So I'm pretty much like a resident of Mova, but not from Mova.
Okay, let's touch now quick on the an area of the Trinidad and Tobago football that some people are not, in my estimation, coming to grips with properly. I know it was a disappointment. The dream team, as they would call it, of '73, the Haiti game and everything else. I mean, that's part of your history, and I say, Steve, you have a long history and a successful history. How you handle that disappointment, how you move on from it, because it's important that being part of the disappointment, everybody handles things differently, everybody is different. How you look at that and how you were able to move on from that?
Well, look at it as a challenge. Disappointments is part of your growth. So if you get everything and you never get disappointed, or you never lose, or you never had a hurdle to climb, you don't really grow as fast. So Haiti was very special. I learned, that's why I wasn't a professional yet. But before I left Haiti, I was a professional in my mindset, because we spent many nights with Warren Archibald, especially, Sellers Figaro, Everett Cummins, who was the only professionals on the team. We lay on the bed, we in the room, 4 or 5 beds in the room, whatever that was. And we talk football. And so you hear the experiences and you digest it and you grow. Because before we went to Haiti, the only we didn't play any international game. The only games we played, practice games, was against local teams. So as we go through that tournament, we got better because we got experience. The first game when we played, you could tell we was a little bit scared, not scared, I would say, practice or short.
Hesitant, you was hesitant then.
Yeah. So, but we gained that, and then we started to move through every team, like we're supposed to, because like we beat Mexico 4-0 in the third game, and then in the last game we also beat Netherlands Antilles another 4-0. So you could tell that our momentum was picked up, and we also thought if we got to the World Cup that year, we could have done something special. But so, and again, we had a lot of people. We had a psychologist called Shirley Rod Utley, who prepare us for victory, prepare us for defeat, prepare us for everything. And I kept those things in my mind. We felt like, we were energized to the sense that nothing disrupt nothing break your spirit. If you lose, you prepare for that, So what? So we're going to we think about the next game. Once the whistle blows, there's nothing we can do about that. The only thing we can do is correct any mistakes in the next game, or I'm pushing forward. So I always had that mental state to be strong moving forward, not to look back at what happened, And I also always look at the road ahead of me. I would look at the players who's way ahead of me, how they how they handle defeat, or how they handle moving forward, or how they handle growing older, and how they all of that. So I was always in that mode as to thinking down the road, or what do I do next, or what is my other challenge coming up, and so on and so on.
So that's
So
very good. That's very good because, based on your career, 73, as you say, was your stepping stone, your whole, getting together. And I mean, although being in the squad, I never felt I missed anything. But listening to you now, I think we're in the same headspace in that learning from others around you and stuff is important. And I like the fact that you mentioned, having these guys around and the psychologists, that's good. So now it looked like you shed that disappointment. And how you took off from there. You went pro apparently in 74, which is the following year. Am I correct in saying so?
mm-hmm.
And of course you gave the people all those different hubs. And that's why, not knowing what you were going to say with this segment, is kind of good. I think it all came together because you had challenges. It's plenty teams you played for. You're right. And they already hear how you answered that. So I understand that you did also well in the corporate world. Understand that you studied and were successful in your academics and stuff. And what was the balance? When did you decide that you needed that balance? Is it from Point, or when you went away, you decide you needed something else?
Yeah, well, after school, I know I needed to do something to make my family and everybody proud of me. So I I got out of school. I looking for a job, of course. And police presented themselves, and I took that. So, but when I went in the police service, is I'm giving you a step-by-step
Yeah,
demonstration of what
yeah.
happened. I went in the police service, and I had the best time of my life. I really enjoyed being in the police service. And the football in the Portsmouth Football League was excellent too. I really enjoyed that. Also, I got to live away from under my mom and my dad. Now I'm becoming a man. I'm growing. So all of that was very good, but I still felt like I needed something more because even before I left the police service after 3 years, I sat the corporal exam because I always had this drive to be the best I can be and to do better. Like I said, look ahead. Because I looked at some police who left the service and sell insurance at that time and all of that. And then after a couple of years of selling insurance or whatever, they drop off. It's look for a job doing not much. So I say I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. So my drive was anytime I get outside to play professional football, I would go to school. So that's what it. So while I was playing professional football, I was attending college. I was attending school.
Were you married then, or did you
No,
need somebody to incentivize you that, hey, you know what I mean? A bad game created that. When I mean, your career was going good based on the stats I saw. Is that your mom and these guys in the back of your mind? Because you go away, you come away, they're not there, but you can hear them in the back of your mind. What was it? What was it? You're playing ball, but you tell yourself you had to do that. That's a lot of discipline.
yeah, well, that I had. I always had professional discipline because I sleep early, I eat well, I I rest before the game. When we travel, from the time we get to the hotel, I'm on my bed, we're getting ready for the game. So I always prepare. I'm always prepared for every game, prepared in the same way. Even now, after lunch, I go to sleep and for 2 or 3 hours, and then I get up. and then I go do play whatever activities I want because that is my discipline. So and how I eat and when I eat and what I eat. I am 165 pounds now, and when my playing weight was 165 pounds. I haven't gone anywhere from that. Exactly that right now. So I mean I lose muscle and all of that, but my weight always have stayed the same.
Well, age does that, and you can tone up. You can tone up. That's a good accomplishment.
Yeah, yeah.
What city were you in when you land your first job? Or what? When did you get your? Because as far as I understand, you had two accomplishments academically. Two the degrees you have, or you had two accomplishments. Again, you got one, and you obviously you didn't get the two at the same time. So
Right.
I want to know what's the driving force? What's going on with you?
Well, my at the end, getting closer to the end of my career, I needed to finish school because I started school in Miami. My first semester was in Miami. My first year in Miami, I got to Miami-Dade junior college, and I started to do courses. Towards actually, I wanted to do medicine, so I would do pre-med, and I got to my professor said to me, he says, that's not a good major for you because when you graduate from here to go on to another college, that they would give the Americans the choices for the best schools. So I said, oh, okay. So I took his advice and I switched to safety engineering. So, and that's where I got, but I finally got my degree in safety engineering in Arizona, where I played indoor football for Arizona.
What year that was?
Eternal.
What year that was?
That was 78, 79,
Well, we can get
maybe
that because I can check.
84, 84.
84?
Yeah, that's when that's when I ended, stopped playing professional.
And
So I
you got
played
that.
professional football from 74 to 84. Hard professional. And then I used to just play after 84, just play games here and there and get paid for it because, it's time to close up shop. And I was really into school to graduate.
That's what I was now going to ask. The
Yeah.
timing, because seeing that it coincide with the end of your career, based on getting your degree, the momentum was going academically and getting another job, I guess, after 10 years to the wear and tear. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, yeah. I figured now it's time to make that step because that's a time when you can't demand the big dollars, even though there was big dollars, but at that time it was big for that time. And you can't demand that anymore and you have to move on. So I decided and put on the hard shoes and hit the pavement and start moving on. So that's what I did. And I left football behind, but I still played a little bit just to make some money, to keep me going, to keep me through school.
So what's the drive? Okay, you got a job after you get your degree. Did you automatically get a job or you continue studying further in your studies? And how did that part work?
No, I got a job right away. I work for Bechtel, which is a company in Arizona. Well, they really was from San Francisco. Bechtel is a big construction company throughout the U.S. and the world. So they had a big office in San Francisco and an office in Texas and different places. So, and I went to work for them in Palo Verde, which is a nuclear plant in Palo Verde in Arizona. And so I worked there as a safety engineer. And then I started to travel working with them, just like if I was a professional athlete. So I always live out my suitcase, kind of doing that. And so actually I ended up in Trinidad working Atlantic LNG. That was the last job I did for Bechtel from since back then for Bechtel because I've been with them. And when I heard about Atlantic LNG in Point Fortin that they were building, I asked them to go. I said, that's my hometown. So they took me here. And I was an expat, but really in the hometown where I was born and grew up.
So what was the need, seeing that things were going so good, everything, you wanted to relocate to Trinidad, you got that and stuff. What was the need for the second degree, or did you have that by the time you got back to Trinidad?
Well, remember, I worked at Bechtel as a safety engineer, and now I'm into this field, and I need to move up. I mean, you get to the field, but just to make the money is not enough for me. So I wanted to get to be a CSP, what is it called? A certified safety professional, which is the highest accreditation that you can get in safety. So I needed to get that, which I went ahead and get that. And then once I got that, I needed to do a little bit more. So when I went to New York, I wanted to do my master's in environmental science. So I got into a program called EOHS, Environmental and Occupational Health Science, at Hunter College, and I got my master's there. So at that point, I was offered a scholarship to go in and do my PhD, which I turned down because now I needed to make money. I don't have money to take me through life. Now I'm looking at, you have to get money to take you through life. So I kind of focus now on making money. And when I work with Bechtel, and then I branch off and form my own company called Worldwide Safety Consultants. I had it in Trinidad and the US, and I pushed on that until I had people working for me, and I could relax, and now I could have people working for me.
So when you relocated permanently in Trinidad, so you're in Trinidad now, correct?
I'm in Trinidad now because of COVID. I was still living in New York in the States because that's where I do a lot of safety work for DEP and a lot of consultants see work in New York. And there's a lot to do, and there's a lot of money you can make, and there's a lot of people who was working with me at the time for Worldwide Safety. So I had to be there because I'm a CSP, and they need my certification. Companies need that because they need a CSP on the job, and they did it, and so on and so on. So that's a long story. So I'm cutting you short on that one because it's so
Yeah,
so
that's
long.
good. Did you ever do any coaching?
Well, coaching was never on my menu. I mean, it was. No, I totally left the game, and I am focused on my career moving forward outside of football. So football was not on my menu at all. So, and I still played and had fun doing it. And the only time I ever coached was when I came to Trinidad to work with Bechtel. I coached Civic Center. So because they were in South Zone and they weren't moving up, so I took that team and we won the South Zone, and then we went into the higher division and we won that, and then we went into semi-pro and we won that, and we ended up in the Pro League, which is from that thing. But I came here in '96 in Trinidad, and I left in 2000 to go back to New York, and did my last job back there was in New York in 2001.
And in closing now, I saw that you had the opportunity, God rest his soul, to play with or been called in the same lineup. I don't know if you played with him or what, with Pele. What was that like? And that's an honor that nobody can take that away from you.
Was that, say it again?
I said you had the opportunity to be called in the first team lineup in the NASL with Pele. What was that? That's a huge accomplishment. What was that for you, and what was going on at the time?
Well, every season I play, I try to make the all-star team. That means you one of the top 11 or 15 or 18 players, whatever they selected for that year. So that is accomplishment. You have to set goals. If you don't set goals, I mean, you have to. I would set goals as per half. I need to get at least 3 shots in the goal. I need to get chances. I mean, and you have to try to accomplish those. So making the all-star team is always good. And then in '76, when they picked the Team America, which was the bicentennial year, and they pick an all-star team from all the NASL players, which is rare, or that all the world-class players from the '74 World Cup there, playing with I mean Pele and Beckenbauer and George Best and all the Dutch players, Johan Cruyff and this one and that one and the other, and to be on that team was a real big honor, and I made it. But between '74 and '76, when I picked that team, I had 2 scoring titles. That's in '75 and '77, and MVP, Rookie of the Year, and that kind of stuff.
So, and that's of the league, not team. This is not team. This is of the NASL.
In entire NASL.
So is that to support the fact that there was always this thing that the Caribbean players sort of was the foundation to the NASL? What do you think about that saying? Because remember, the USA wasn't even ranked ahead of Trinidad and Tobago even up to the 89 game, right? So they at least they invested and normally invest in a league by bringing in players like they're doing now, even with Messi or whatever. The system didn't change. That's the way it goes. So did you feel that you were one of the, and you were there before Beckenbauer came, or was it at the same time? Were you in the league prior to?
I was there before Beckenbauer. I came in before Pele. I came in '74. Pele came in '75. Beckenbauer came in '76. So I was there before. And then they had Bobby Moore, who captained England in '66 World Cup. He was there. He was on the bicentennial team as well. And, real stars that, like Eusebio and all these people. I mean, people that I was a little boy running around when they were banging. And I get to meet them and play with them and play against them and become friends with them. So it was very exciting. Even though I was never a starstruck person, and I had real attitude, not bad, but you know that from
yeah, and that's a good thing though, because and that's why I wanted to make sure it came out.
But I think it's confidence. You're confident in yourself. Like when they say, after we played the bicentennial game against Italy in Washington, in the locker room, of course, all the stars around, The thing about it is we from a little Trinidad that nobody knows about, so they don't expect like people like yourself to be there, but I was. And then the reporter coming to me to say, "How you feel playing with Pele?" No, I was the MVP the year before, and Pele was runner-up. So I was jokingly, but in a way, what kind of question is that? I said, why don't you ask Pele how he feels playing with me? So that went around the world, like okay, say that, but I was really joking, and but I was confident about my game. So those are the things that.
Did you see anything that were you still? I know I can't use the word starstruck because the public can realize the kind of guy we're dealing with here. But still, based on the respect factor, it still was nice to line up and watch him. I mean, it was a little late,
It's a big honor. It's a big honor to play with him, to sit down and have dinner, talk about football, talk about different things and different players, whatever. We used to go out and hang out. I mean, Eusebio, like him, he's my rep boy. And because I used to like him too in the 16 World Cup.
The Black
Yeah.
Panther, same year.
So those guys were great guys, ordinary people like you and I. And Archie always told me that. He says, they're made up of the same flesh and blood like you. So why should they be any better than you? And why, so I learned that. I remember that. I say, and it's true. So I
So
didn't
as
treat
you
them.
mentioned, Archie, now, and seem like you have that respect and think to the elders above you. What you would say, Dilly's midfield, Archie up front, how did they impact your game positively in terms of the way they play, anything they do, and based on even their mental strength? What anything you notice in the two of them? Because as I say, I never got the real opportunity to see Dilly, but I saw Archie and I found him in that early stage relentless. I think the defender would have liked to pull a muscle or something. You know,
Yeah.
so what do you think? When as the understudy was something you wouldn't mind emulating?
Archie and Didi is two different people. Both great players. Archie has real mental strength and built and born to be a professional. Does everything that's required of him to do. Whatever you want him to do, you tell him what you want him to do, and he do it. On the other hand, Leroy, with all the ability, all the talent, real talent, could dribble, could pass, could defend, could attack, could do everything. Mental strength, like a Brazilian, whatever. It's like a whatever, jamming stuff, kind of. He has that kind of jamming attitude. He likes to have a good time and all of that. And so it's just two different people, two great players, just different mindset for the game.
And
Now, even Leroy had actually mindset for the game. Who knows what he could have been? But because Archie wasn't as skillful as he was, but a better professional than he was because of how Archie viewed the game and played. And there's a lot of things that young people don't understand. You know, it's how you prepare, is how you and how you come across is what makes you a good professional. Professionalism is doing what you ask and having the discipline to endure and go through it. It's like being a Navy SEAL. You go through that hard times and you take it. You could be as hungry as whatever, you could be as tired as whatever. You have to finish the journey, that kind of thing. So that's what Archie is compared to Leroy.
okay, as a person who we take credit for bringing you out in the northern part of Spain, could you give me a little quick synopsis, a little quicker than that, because Archie and Dilly really was the pinnacle. Give you all the respect in terms of even for us younger guys from the north. They were names because Benedict's, you remember Benedict's, they break the ice with Benedict's, and that's where young people aspire because they're still going to school, colleges, or whatever. Now, you had other guys that had the pleasure of being around, not long, but as you, I looked at them. I kind of like Clibbert. Clibbert was always at a certain standard, at a certain level. He was made for the flanks to me. He made that look very easy. Well, of course, Leo had the twinkle toes attached to him. I think Mike Hackett was in the under 19 team, and then we can take it from there in terms of wrapping this up.
Clifford Leonard, you mentioned him, so I'll just speak a little bit about him. And we went to school together. We played in the same Benedict, same team. And he was a special player. But we came along after. It was him and myself with Twinkle Toes, Leo and Tony Douglas, and those kind of players, and Mikey Hackett and those. Mikey Hackett played a little bit with Archie in there as well, but at right fullback. And so, I mean, they had a lot of the the younger players are coming behind that was special. But let me talk to you about some of the Port of Spain players that you want me to talk about, like like when you guys were playing, came on the team, young with us. I mean,
Yeah, and speaking of that, I was really impressed and felt good that you said you even remember me because I told my brother that he said, yeah. I said, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a big feather in my cap.
oh, of
That
course,
you
you
remember
were my dear small brother. Yeah, no, we did. I remember you coming on and say, where did this one come from? And then say, that's so and so. I say, oh, okay.
me.
Yeah,
We used to
yeah.
talk. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because we had the regular group, and then people come in, and even Sammy
Yeah, it
came
was
in.
me, Can, Steve Can, and a couple of guys. They called five of
Yeah,
us to come in.
yeah, exactly. And because when Sammy came in, he said, who brought the little brother with them? That was Sammy, Sammy
Yeah,
Small, right?
yeah.
And so on and so on. But you guys did, was special. I mean, every one of you guys came in had something to add to the team. And then, but there is Ron Lafferay. Ron Lafferay, when I saw Ron, I said, man, Ron Lafferay and Wayne Lewis. I said, and both of them played for Belmont Inter. I thought they were very, very special. And I thought Ron Lafferay had the skill to be anything he wanted to be. He didn't have the discipline. If Ron had the discipline with the skill that he had, you might not hear anything about any one of us because I thought he was that skillful and that good. Yeah, when he came and stayed with me in LA, and we used to go and practice, train and stuff. I used to take him trying to get him on the squad and trying to get him a professional contract. And I said, Ron, man, it's just a discipline. He likes to eat. He doesn't like to train. He didn't get it. He got it, and he knew what it takes to be, and he could have do that. He would have been great. And Wayne Lewis is the same. I think it's maybe the Paul Spain mentality. I know I'm glad I grew up in Point because I don't know what it was, but they weren't. They wasn't as disciplined as they need to be, and I think that's what was the difference in North and South, or us from Point Fortin and the rest of Trinidad for whatever reason, because we were not saying that we were totally disciplined, but we were a little bit more disciplined.
Oh, I knew you were kind of serious is the fact that I got a little whiff that it looked like they gave you the police team at one time. I don't know if you guys travel or whatever, and guys were playing Cars Monty and them guys called New Monty. And you came around and they said, hey, you guys playing car, all right, bro. And I understand the next day they wasn't in the starting lineup.
They informed you well.
Yeah, yeah,
Even
yeah. So I say, and they informed me based on the seriousness how you take things, you know what I mean? Because the amazing part about that story is that, hey, like he didn't tell them, hey, go to bed. It's big men, I guess. And there's consequences to every action. And I think I would have been wanted to mention something about going to bed. I don't know if I could have the trigger cut for the next day, you know what I mean? Were you a professional already?
sometimes I believe I was born to be a professional athlete because I always take things seriously, and like we were in Martinique, and we were there to play the games and to do what we had to do. Of course, we can enjoy ourselves. That's not a problem. But when we prepare for a game, we prepare for the game the right way. So that night, they play cards all day. And now 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and they're still playing. So I'm on my bed. We big dormitory style. So I'm on my bed and card going on, and of course lights are off in certain areas, and where they were playing cards, of course, light on, and they're going, and they're trying to be quiet, and I can hear them. And every time I get up during the night, I peek, they're still playing. I didn't stop them. I went ahead. I was the captain of the team, so You know, those days the captain be the coach when we don't have a coach and all that kind of stuff. So we had to get up the next morning for 5, 6, I think, to go for a walk, to stretch out, to get ready for the game. So we went through all the same drills. I didn't say nothing to them. All the same drills. We went for a walk, we think, and they expect me to come down on them or run them that morning. Running them that morning is not going to help me. Help the team. It's going to just hurt the team. So I didn't do nothing to hurt the team. But when time to pick the team, every one of them was on the bench,
That's what
or not on the bench, or in the stand, whatever it was. So they didn't get picked. I played with the guys who prepared for the game, and they look at me like I was the meanest guy in the world. But that is just how it's supposed to happen. Even you before a game you have 11 shirts there, or the week before the game, and anybody who won one work to get one. That's how I know it. So that's what I did.
I know you defer one part of the topic, so we won't get into that, and you don't have to get into that. So I don't know if it's what's next for you is what you defer. But again, ladies and gentlemen, Steve has a program, and maybe you could tell us about that program. What's you thinking? What you started that program only when you went back home, or how did that fit into your plans in Trinidad?
Well, everybody wants to be the coach, and everybody wants to do something. And I wanted to find a way to give back and to the young ones coming up, because I listen a lot to the older guys, and I look to them as bigger than life. The guys who came before me, they said the thing for us to push higher. So I wanted to know how I can help the younger ones in their mental game, in their head, in their thoughts. Physically, the coaches can do that. So I figure if I can have that program where they can get some of our stories and our experiences, that might help push them forward, because I listen a lot to the older guys. So, and I try, when I first started that program, I tried to bring on the guys who came before to talk about football, and also give them a little exposure, a little thank you for the memories kind of thing. Because I always felt good when people see I meet people on the road and say thanks for the memories, Steve, and so on, so on, so on. So I felt I can give back in that way, and also to let those guys get that kind of joy that I felt when people say thanks for the memories. And then so we started like that, guest interviewing people like you're doing right now. And then as we grow, I start seeing other things I can do, and then I see where I can brand Field of Dreams and make it bigger. So I just keep growing it. And so the program went from individual interviews to a collaboration of people just sitting and talking about football and so on and so on. So, we did, and we still experimenting and doing things to make it bigger. But it's something that I think we need.
Okay, so we kind of on the same page in terms of vision. Implementation might be different, geographics might be different. But then, although we do what we're trying to do, there's a certain mechanics that to me is a bit frustrating, which is moving the country football forward, being more competitive. We still got to do what we're doing in terms of exposure and stuff, and make people realize they belong. But what do you think is needed there? And one of the things I want to even tell you on air is that the reason why I was seeking you over the period of time is that your best village, which is where I mean, we play against each other, yes, Port of St. League, FA Cup and stuff, but the best village is bringing out the real people from the villages and stuff. And I understand it's still going on, Steve. And I think I want to hear your version of how the football could be improved. And how do we do that? I would like to take some active part in Best Village to get it implemented. The big ones were Point, Puna, Mova, Carnage, Southeast Port of Spain. I mean, you had the Bossiers and the Baratarias and stuff, but those were the ones that resurfaced year after year. So it would be a good start. What do you think about that, and what you think is needed now beyond that?
You know, Best Village is so important and it's so gratifying to, I'll tell you why, because not every one of us could play for the national team. But if I can represent my village, it's like representing the national team. It starts with that. Your household name in the village. Everybody talks about you as a footballer or a cricketer or track and field person. But so what you just hit the nail on the head when you say maybe you can get like 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 villages to come and compete. You mightn't get the whole of Trinidad, but that is a good start to get that. And it could be in one sport or it could be in every other thing. But I think we need that kind of competition. And then you get that kind of love for your village first. And then maybe for the north or the south, like they used to have. And then for the country, I think we lack a lot of that even in our football. When we play for our village, we play hard, blood and sand for our village because we are the best. We want to be the best. We feel like we're the best. And when we play for South, we want to do the same. And when we play for Trinidad, we want to do the same. I think our problem in our football is a lot mental because I don't think we're mentally strong and we don't prepare enough. Like for every game, we should prepare for that game. We very much like Brazilians. We jam and still kind of way. If we lose, it doesn't matter. And doesn't mean you have to go and beat your wife if you lose, but you have to think about what happened or how you went wrong and how you're going to correct it for the next time. So our mental strength is not enough to make us be a world class team, or even in the Caribbean, we're not as mentally strong as some of the others, which is where we need to strengthen up. Talent we have, skill we have, and we still can work on that, but I think we lose the mental game, and which is so important. It's like, for example, let me give you a good example. The basketball finals were just going down, and every time you look, when a team needs to win, they come out and give it the hardest, and most of the time they win when the back is to the wall, because now the mental come out. They take the game differently. They take it to another level. And if you can do that every game, and I don't think you can do it. You're not, you're a human being. We're not meant to, you have a way you want to relax when you get in a comfortable position. But if we can not relax and come and put every game, put your best mentally, I think we do so much better. So I think that's where we need to start.
So can I count on you, maybe not this year, 2024 or some.
I'll say yes before you can.
Yeah, because these areas I probably can get somebody to spearhead. Before I say the problem, and I know it's going to be heard, but I want people to understand Trinidad and Tobago has, as far as I know, within the time I've been covering it since going into the Bahrain series, faltered tremendously at home. And if I start from recent moonwalk, from the Nicaragua game recently, the tie, you go back to the women's game against Ecuador, where they dominate the game for 90, 89 minutes. And you go back to even making the World Cup with Bahrain. You won the game in Bahrain. There's something lacking, but Steve, this is deep. How is this going to happen?
A good question. I mean, good comment. It's difficult. We can't teach everybody again. The more they see it, though, the better they start understanding it. So it's on television a lot now, but it has to be throughout the community, and they have to come out. And so the more sport you play in your community, your community get to understand it. That's how I figure it happened in Point. And I could speak for Point Fortin. Everywhere you go, we had a little field that we play, and people will be watching, and they come into bed in the neighborhood, and they do this. So everybody is like, "Did you see so and so little brother?" And so at different levels. So they talk about it, and then you grow up, and they kind of learn the game because the parents and the brothers and sisters come up and watch, and so on and so on. So to get people to be knowledgeable, it would take a doing, but it could happen. And I know for a fact in Point Fortin, when we played, they don't like losers, and so we have to win, and we know we have to win. So our pressure is on for us to win every time to make them proud. And if we didn't win, when you walk down the street, you would hear it from them. That learns us to be tough, because otherwise you would hide up in the house and you'll come up when you lose. But we came out and we take our bashing and we did what we had to do and said, no, next time. And
So you see, that's betterment.
process.
That's what you said. Listening to you there now, it's like a deal. It's a deal. We'll back you. Don't let us down.
Yeah. And there's again the mindset. Yeah, you can't, if you're weak-minded, you cannot be great. You got to be strong. You got to be able to take that. You got to be able to put that behind you. If you miss an opportunity, it's gone. So, and I always say, you don't throw away a goal. A goal is when it crosses the line. So you miss an opportunity, and that's okay. You might miss 10, and then you score the next 12. So that is your motivation to score the next 12.
So in closing here, Steve, can I hold you to that? We can give this Best Village thing some kind of thought. Even if I have to get over to come up with point, when I go down at some time and we start making it work before it get official or something, like, you know what I mean? Like, because something needed for the awareness to happen.
Let's not just talk about it. Let's do it. We get 4 teams or 10 teams or whatever, and get people who and I will get together with them, and we can coordinate better build football, and if we can get 10 villages, 4 in the north and 4 in the south.
So can we to get the sanctioning? Do we need the ministry sanctioning? Or I don't think, because the Best Village is going on, as I understand, as I told you, on the other different disciplines, right? So
No
Steve, I
problem.
want to thank you for giving me the time, the opportunity, and let you know that, you're was an inspiration. I know I didn't stay, but thanks for everything, and continue doing that Field of Dreams thing, because I think is something almost parallel, a little ahead of what I can do, and continue doing your good work too.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
All right.